in ChatGPT. It is free. There is a context, but there's like a limit to how much you can do within a 5 hour period. I don't believe that we're gonna break that. If if you get too like into it and you're just like, oh yeah, more of that, chances are good that you'll use up that space. This is gonna be recorded, so I'm sure you can go back and uh, check it out later. Um, yeah, but if you could get ChatGPT up, you can follow along and you can make this happen.
Awesome. And so what I thought we would do, how many people do we have total, Allison? My 11. We've got 11. I think we could do, hey Catherine, wow, good to see you. I think we could probably do a quick, very quick. We're gonna speed round introductions. And what I want you to do is give me your name, your organization, and one word that describes your organization. Distill it down into one word. Who wants to go first? I'll do Carnelian. I'm Alsan with Carnelian, and my one word is ease.
I'm Catherine Kamlard with Boundless Literacy, and my organization is really exciting right now.
It's exciting. Oh, I love that one.
I'm Karen Comstock. I am with the Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame, and my organization is evolving right now.
Evolving. Ooh, good one. All right, who's next?
I'm John Proto with the Shoreline Trolley Museum, and transition is probably a good word.
All right. Who's up next?
Oops, sorry. Go ahead. I'm Jennifer Cortella Brown with Clifford Beers, and I would say our one word is access.
Nice.
And I'm Nancy Hampson, Valley Council. I'm in the car, so unfortunately, sorry, no camera. And our one word is connection.
Connection. Nice.
Be safe driving.
Yeah, please.
And I'm Joanne Scully. Sorry, I'm Joanne Scully. I'm with New Reach, and I would say right now the word collaboration.
Nice. I know we've got more.
I'm Elise Shotton from Pro Bono Partnership, and I am going to use the same word as Jennifer. I think our word is access.
Nice. Got a couple more. Jump in. You don't have to be on camera. You can just talk. We're okay with that.
Welcome to Elizabeth, who just came in. Everyone is just introducing themselves, name and organization, and one word that describes your organization.
That's okay, Elizabeth. We can come back if you want to give us your word later. That's totally cool. So what we just did, right? We just made a word bank for this group of organizations and our word bank for who we are as a group: exciting, evolving, transition, access, connection, collaboration. That's who we are as a group. What we're going to do is a little bit of a very, very 1-minute brainstorm. I want everyone to write down. You're going to say, why am I doing this? We'll get to it. I promise. I want you to spend 1 minute. We're going to time it. 1 minute just writing down one word, no phrases, just one word at a time, who your organization is, what you are, what impact you have. Find those words. What are your words? What are the words that describe you? What are the words that describe your environment? What are the words that describe your impact? Give me just a list of words in 1 minute. How many words can you get? Okay, ready? On your mark, get set, go. You're halfway there. Okay. Everybody has their list of words. Yeah. Anyone want to share their list? One or two people want to share?
I'll share.
Awesome. Cool.
Hope, compassion, access, grit, commitment, loving, professional, reliable.
Nice. Oh, I like those words. I like those words. Anyone else want to give me their list real
Sure.
quick?
I'll
Okay.
share.
Cool.
Education, history, feminism, accurate, inspiration, validation, celebration, seeing and hearing.
Oh, I love this. These are great words. These are fantastic words. What you're doing is creating a word bank like we did for our collective, but now you've got your individual word bank, right? The words that you came up with. There's an opportunity that you can take this exercise to your staff meeting. Take it, don't tell them what you're doing. Just say, hey, give me a word. Take it to a board meeting. Take it to a volunteer meeting. Take it to your participants and ask them, give me one word. And then you get to put those words together and say, where do they intersect? Is there repetition? What are the themes? What are the words that are trending? That you can really start to say, these are actually our words. There's the words you aspire to have and the words that are real, that your community is giving you. Why are we talking about words, right? So what we want to get a little bit into your brand voice. And those words are absolutely essential to your brand voice. Erin, can you tell us a little bit about what is brand voice?
Oh boy, can I.
So by the way, Carnelian, what we do is we blend brand identity, user experience with nonprofit strategic management. So we take all of those things and combine them into one. So Aaron is actually an expert in brand identity. So he's going to tell us a little bit about brand identity, brand voice.
Yeah, sure. The best way to phrase it is that people buy from people that they trust based on a relationship that's been cultivated over time. You're right. I come from a world of marketing where there's large budgets pointed directly at this, which is how do you talk to your customers? What is it? How do you show up in the different ways? TV ads, commercials, banners, your website, social media, all of that has a origin, and the story is based on the way that we like to do it is to point out Jung's 12 archetypes, and we have workshops that go deeper into this more. We really needed a whole day to dig into the images and feelings and emotions, and what we're going to do today is use some words and give you a stand-in for what can be used in a good degree to help explain who you are and what you stand for, and make it consistent across everybody who works for you. Anything that you write, anything that comes out of your organization, all sound like it's coming from the same place, and it is the same person, and it is the same archetype that you are connecting with them in an authentic way.
That was great. Any questions about brand voice in identity before we jump in a little bit more? No, cool. So, and if you do have questions, just ask them, jump in. We're very informal, so if there's questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. We're going to fly through some stuff because we've got a lot we want to do. If you don't have ChatGPT up yet, open it up, because we're going to actually do some work in it, hands-on, right in it. And by the time we're done, you're actually going to have some usable outputs that you can actually make use of. Joanne, you're a little lucky because I practiced and did our curriculum for today on New Reach. So I'll have to send you what I have too, and we'll compare notes and see. So I tested everything out with New Reach just to see what was the output I was getting. And I'll be curious later, Joanne, we'll have to touch base offline and see what happened there, how much we are in alignment. So what I want you to do is, Erin's going to put prompts in the chat. Just copy them and paste them right into your GPT. So split your screen however you want to work. Aaron's kind of got his screen up so you can watch as we're going along. So the first, how can AI help? Right? How can AI help if you don't have time or budget for this big brand identity workshop? I mean, we do sometimes 3-4 day at a time with an organization to determine this. We spend a lot of time having these conversations about what is your voice? What is your identity? How can we use, and your identity is the key, as Erin said, to consistency. It's the key to authenticity. It's the key to making sure that you are so grounded in who you are and what you stand for, and that your purpose is front and center in every bit of communication, that you don't risk losing it in the thread of a chat with AI. But how can AI help? All right, so AI is going to give you a mini hour-and-a-half workshop on how to determine your brand and give you some tools to keep working with moving forward. So the first thing, how do you use it? All right, so pull up your website, right? Copy your URL and paste that into your chat. And then Erin's going to put a prompt up in the chat that I want you to grab and add to it. So our prompt is scan this website and find words that align with the organization's mission, vision, and values. Make a list of these words. I'm telling it exactly what I want it to do. I want it to look at my website. I want it to scan the whole site. And then I want it to give me a list of what are the words that align with the mission, vision, values that we say that we are 100% committed to. Has anyone already pulled theirs up? Anyone have a list already? Who wants to share? Share your list of words.
It's very long, but
Yeah,
I'll give the beginning.
Cool.
Okay. Inspire independence, homelessness, poverty, continuum of housing, support, innovative, progressive methods, homeless prevention, crisis services, housing, supportive, affordable living spaces, safe shelter, and it goes on.
So how did those words align with the words that you brainstormed in that first minute?
These they're close. They're a little bit more. These are more like practical, like specifics about what we do versus sort of like I was thinking more of like the feeling or the
right. So you might find that there's how I feel about the organization and how I want others to feel about it. Is that in alignment with what I'm saying about what we do?
Mm-hmm.
Does that voice correlate across, or is it different? That's something to just ponder right now, and we'll continue getting into that. So now ask the next prompt. The next prompt, Erin, if you could pop that up there, is now scan the website and describe the tone used in the content included on the site. So now you're asking it to really take a look at not just the words, what's the tone of the website? Anyone get yeah, do you want to share with us, kid?
Okay, mine says that our tone is inspirational, empowering, and celebratory. Respect, admiration, and encouragement. Motivation and education, and equity and recognition.
Nice. And that aligns pretty well with your list, right?
It's all right with it. I actually don't like ChatGPT as much as I like Perplexity and the other AIs I use. I find this to be a little clumsy.
Yeah, it's all about, what we're emphasizing here is how you ask, right? There are other options. You can use other AIs. We use other AIs too. This is how do you ask the questions to help it not be clumsy? How do you manage it? How do you use it? How do you make it work for you? How do you figure out how to have the conversation with it? Erin, what was the conversation, Erin, you had about, I love that this morning you were talking about what that conversation you had about what is GPT?
I follow AI news a lot, and recently there was an AI model that refused to do the thing that it was asked to do, and it spawned all kinds of ethics conversations about whether or not we should be using AI in the way that we are, like getting it to do our work. And so I had this conversation with one of my one of my bots, the philosophy and mathematics bot. And it ultimately said that it's a endlessly patient pattern matching machine at my service.
Yeah,
It's just
I'll
a
take that.
tool.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time explaining this to people who I work with, who, if you ask them, would tell you AI was a man with a machine gun in the closet.
No, it's a
I
tool.
keep telling them it's just a tool. Let's all go ride horses then, because cars are terrifying.
Yeah.
I have one pro tip here. My shares. Yeah. Oh yeah. Doggy.
Sorry,
Sure,
dog.
it's okay. Sorry, y'all. Up in the corner, there's a little icon here. If you go down to customize ChatGPT, and then this one, what traits should ChatGPT have? This changed the way that it talks to me. Here is it's in chat. Integrate your memory about me into each response, building context around my goals, projects, interests, skills, and preferences. Connect responses to these, weaving in related concepts, terminology, and examples aligned with my interests. And then in the way that it talks is just completely different.
So you sort of train it a little bit, just like we're training to have a conversation about your organization. You can do that for your own individual voice, for your business, for your organization, for the project you're working on, and really work to customize it so that it isn't so clunky, so that it isn't sort of trying to do everything, but a little more targeted to who you are and what you're trying to do, which is part of maintaining that authenticity. So anyone else want to share what came up with the analysis of tone, if it's in alignment, if it feels really out of whack with your word bank, or if it feels, is it in alignment with your reality? What's your day to day? And does that tone reflect your reality day to day?
The tone reflected more of the words that I actually had come up with. Actually, yeah.
Interesting. That's good. Very good. Cool. Anyone else want to share before we jump forward? Oh, cool.
The tone of my website feels a little bit less personal and less like it feels like static. And the words that I came up with today feel more dynamic about like right now. And so in some ways, I think the website could be improved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice way to kind of do a check and balance of, wait, that's not what I want to convey. It's quality writing. I know your website well. It's really good writing, but is it what you want people to feel? How you want them to connect, right? That's great. Catherine, that's great. Thank you. So, Erin, can you talk a little bit about the difference between voice and style? Because we're going to talk a little bit about style. And I think, Catherine, that's a perfect example. Your site will be a perfect example. Can you explain a little bit, Erin, about the difference between voice and style?
Yes. It can get pretty deep. I'm going to try to keep it topical. Really, it's about voice is about the language and the visuals and the mood and how they align. It's the underpinnings that has more to do with where the content comes from and in what way it is being retrieved and filtered into its core data, right? Its core information. And then once it's through that filter, how it changes how it positions that information is the style. That's
Makes
best.
sense?
Yeah, it's the best I got.
So for instance, Catherine was saying that her words have a very different feel than the style in which the website is written. So I want everyone to, here's a quick prompt to try with your own site, right? You're in the middle of analyzing your own site already. Erin's going to pop the prompt up there. It's write the organization's mission in a very formal style. Ask it to write it very, very formal. It might already be formal. I know Catherine's is a little bit more formal already. And then ask it to write it in a casual or conversational style. What's coming up as you look at these different styles? Does it change what you have? Is it more in alignment, less in alignment? What style feels like it fits? Doesn't fit. Doesn't fit?
They're both a little too extreme. One is too formal. One is, hey, bro, take a look at this.
Right, right. So it's like, wait a minute, that's a little too polar, right? Anyone else want to share what's come up so far?
Ours didn't, this is Jennifer from Clifford Beers. Ours didn't really change all that much to the formal. It almost copied it pretty almost verbatim for what we already had. So obviously it shows our mission statement's already pretty formal.
Right.
And it only made a couple of minor changes for a more informal statement.
What other ways might you change that? Right. So if you're thinking, okay, it's already in alignment, so that might, maybe you want it to be formal. I know some of the prompts I give. Catherine, what about you? Before I give some of the examples of ways we can continue to refine this.
Well, our casual one was really very different. Like the formal one was similar, as you stated. Ours is pretty formal, but it just feels so very different and kind of refreshing, really. I don't know, I don't know what we would actually do. I have to think about it. And,
yeah.
But it's interesting.
You know, some of the things I do, for example, when I work on Elm Shakespeare's, one of the prompts I have to constantly tell it is, and we have a bot trained in Elm Shakespeare. It is trained in our voice, in our mission, in our vision, in our values. We've already spent the time doing that, but I still have to sometimes tell it, hey, that's not the right tone. You're checking off boxes here. Friendly, professional, right? So if that's who you are and who your organization is, ask it. Write this in a friendly, professional way and see what happens. Often I have to say, this needs to be warmer. Write this as if you're talking to a close friend, right? And so it starts to evolve and change it so that you may not be rewriting your mission, right? You don't want to do that. That takes a whole lot of board work, right? But in helping to determine your style and your voice and how you're putting your other information out into the world that is adjacent to and in line with your mission, vision, values, what is that you want to help evoke? What is that voice you want to have to help people constantly connect to it because it resonates with them? And that's one of the things that you can keep refining, keep refining, keep refining. Spend a couple minutes just doing some refinement. Asking it to, I'm a little more whimsical. Let's make it more whimsical. I'm a little more academic. Let's make it more academic. Less casual helped. Yeah, right. And so it sort of changes what comes to the forefront. Spend a minute, play around a little bit, see what changes you can. If anyone wants to share what they've done and how it has evolved and how it's getting closer to the feeling you want, right? If you've got an organization that feels like family, right? It's this needs to feel like family, not dysfunctional family. This needs to feel like family, like a close knit, really tight family. And that will change the language too. So you think about those words in the beginning that you came up with about how they almost tap into how you feel and how you want others to feel. And then keep asking for it in those words. Use those words. Anyone want to share where they've landed?
Well, I haven't landed anywhere, but I asked it to make the reader like part of the hero's journey, because we're thinking about attending to our community and having a shared story and working together. And it's very interesting. Like, it does it really, I wouldn't use it exactly, and I might not use it for the website, but it certainly gives could be very useful for many things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, and silly is always fun. It is. Sometimes I mess around with it. And then I tell it to ignore that. I'll say, hey, please ignore that. Right? If I do something silly and I don't want it to be that silly. But what I want you to do next is say, you've done some refinement. So the next prompt, Erin's going to pop that next prompt up, is based on this revised styles for articulating the version of the mission that we've worked on. Are there recommended changes to the word list, to the words. What do you recommend for the words that describe the organization? Are there any changes? So he'll put the prompt up so you can even grab the direct prompt and pop that in and see how if it changes your word list. Anyone want to share? Joanne, did it narrow down your list?
Yes, it definitely narrowed down the list. There was something that's interesting is gave some recommended changes that I think are interesting from alleviate poverty to break the cycle of poverty, more active and long-term impact driven, from crisis intervention to urgent support, more accessible and immediate, from long-term support to lasting solutions, more forward-thinking and results-driven. So those are interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's great is you hear that it's telling her why. Not just here are the recommended changes, but why. So as you start to write things, if you've got people who need to approve your content and they come back and say, I disagree with this edit, we always say this. Well, this has this impact. And you actually can tell the why. You have some leverage, you have some authority that you can lean back into and have a conversation about, this is why I chose this text. Right? It also helps in your decision-making process, having some of that, well, why this change? Why this phrase instead of this phrase? Right? So the next thing to ask it, and you can pop this next prompt up, is you've got a new word bank, right? A new bank, and now you've got some phrases with some leverage in there about why. Now ask it, what should I avoid using? If I want to maintain that new revised feeling in our tone and style, what words should we not use? What words are a disservice to maintaining that feeling in that voice?
It started with great question.
I love that. It like gives you a little pat on the back, makes you feel good job. You're great. Yeah, I love that. Little dopamine. I'll take it.
Is it sad that all the words it told me to stop using are the words my board loves?
You
I
know,
was just gonna say that.
yeah.
Same thing here. Same thing here.
And that's a conversation to have, right? To actually maybe create a task force and say, is the language we are using the language to inspire and really have purpose resonate? Is the language we are using in this room as a board, right? Even here in these conversations, does it tap into who we want to be as an organization? How do you find that authenticity and not let it get heady and not let it get academic and not let it get erudite? How do you keep it real? Because if it's not real to your donors and it's not real to your participants, that's going to hinder your process from remaining sustainable. Does that make sense? Does everybody get where we're going with this? Any thoughts? Any big revelations on things?
I was wondering, would it be able to tell me where, so the words to avoid, I mean, I guess I could just ask it, can it tell me where these words are on my website?
Yeah, ask it. And it will show you. You've got it here, you've got it here, you've got it here, you've got it here. I do it all the time. I'll write something and say, am I actually using the things I've said I'm not going to use? Am I actually staying? And we'll talk about that in a little bit about how we can use these. In fact, it's a good transition. Joanne, you're always so good about making my transitions happen. So first we're going to, yeah, right, I see you. First, we're going to show you how to, another little new update, if you haven't played around with it yet in ChatGPT, is Canvas. Has anyone used Canvas yet? Yeah. A little bit,
Canvas
Catherine?
or Canva, not Canva?
Not Canva, Canvas.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay, so Canvas is built into GPT, and I agree it's a bad name because it's confusing with Canva and all the other things that are confusing, right? Canvas is actually creating documents directly in GPT. So you've got this word list of your word bank and the words to avoid. You can actually, it'll show you what is Canvas. Open this in Canvas. So it'll create a document. Do you see we just left the chat? Your chat is now over to the left, and you are actually in a document. So ask it to create a word bank and words to avoid based on these conversations you've had.
If you're not in this, then the button is down here is a little pencil icon with a star or asterisk next to it, and that'll open any chat into Canvas where you can work on it.
Yep. And then if you want to export it, see up in the upper left, you can export it or share it, right? So you can copy it, you can share it. Once it's in Canvas, you can do multiple things with it, right? You can email it to yourself. And then how do you get out of Canvas, Aaron? How do you get it? We're going to talk more about Canvas a little later because it has its pros and it definitely has its cons.
Yeah.
So we'll get into Canvas a little later.
Sherrill will take you out of the Canvas mode and put you back into the chat mode.
So everybody want to practice it once you're in chat. You want to go and make it a document. So you can go and click on that pencil. Thank you, Aaron. Now you're in Canvas. And this is actually in document mode. You can collaborate in this. You can work on your own. We're going to, again, get into this more later. And then how do you close out? Again, everybody practice closing out of there. Just so you've done it once and you know where we are. Cool? So back to exactly what Joanne was talking about. You can now take your word list and your word bank and your words to avoid, upload an appeal, upload a recent social media post, upload a proposal, ask it to look at your website, put your URL in again and say, hey, where am I using words I should avoid? And see where it tells you. And you can go back and make a note to make edits. Where, does this content align with our voice, align with our style based on, the word bank that you've created. And the other thing you can do, which is really fun, is use it in your process, right? So say you're applying to the Community Foundation. Aaron, grab the Community Foundation's grant page, right? Here's the apply for grants. Grab that URL. Let's pop that in. It's already has, you don't need to upload, but you have saved your list, right? Elsewhere. You can upload it. Aaron, where do you, can you show everybody where you upload just so in case anyone's forgotten?
Yeah, there's a little plus icon in the interface. This is their toolbar down here. It has a bunch of other stuff, but we're not going to get into all of that. This time it's the plus icon, and then the first one up says upload from computer.
So say you're in it in a new session, right? We're not on this thread already, which will have your words. You can actually upload your word bank and words to avoid for another conversation later. It won't maintain it from one to the other. Aaron's is trained a little bit more to do that, so is mine. But yours might not be trained in that way. So upload it again, or if there's multiple users, right? You might not be able to save that. So you upload it, put the URL for the Community Foundation in, and then Aaron will put a prompt up there about how, I'm applying to this funder, and where is their alignment between their words and my words and tone and style? Where is that alignment? Because that will help you determine what words do I need to be using? Am I a fit? As I'm working on this application, what's important to bring forward so that we share that shared purpose, right? You can use it. You can use it to help sort of shape the words you're using while still maintaining your consistent mission, right? Your consistent voice. And then you could ask it things like, what should we avoid using when writing to this funder? What are words we should not use? Or is the tone in alignment with the funder's priorities while at the same time staying true to our voice? Ask it to analyze this. Ask it to really Spend some time looking at that alignment and looking at and always asking it, is this true? Is this true to our mission, vision, values? Save your mission, vision, values in a separate document and just upload that along with your words, right? Your word bank and your words to avoid, and ask, is what I just did in alignment? Is what I just did and wrote staying true to our voice and our brand style? You're thinking, okay, there's a whole lot of documents now. I'm uploading my mission, vision, values. I'm uploading my words. How do you stay consistent? How do you help everyone else in your organization who contributes to content creation to stay in alignment? So we're going to actually create, so by the time you walk away from this today, you will have a little bit of a framework. This is a very long prompt. Long prompts don't usually work well, but this is such a specific ask, and we've been sort of in this thread for a while. This long prompt is permissible. We're going to allow it. And if you could pop that up, the next prompt. We want to create a framework, a protocol for the organization that discusses what is our word bank, what are words to avoid, what's our tone. So we're going to ask it, write a guide, write a protocol document that can be shared and included in our brand and style guides that help anyone who's contributing to writing. If it's a volunteer, if it's a contracted vendor, you'll have some words that creates a framework that you can share that allows you to constantly be paying attention to your voice and your tone and your authentic mission, vision, values, and your purpose. Anyone want to share their framework? Want to share their protocol that it offered? Any thoughts about it?
It's really big. I mean, it's six points, and each has 4 to 5 bullets underneath it.
Yeah. Are they helpful?
Mostly. I had it base it on the website, not on our previous discussions.
Right.
So, because I still have to balance what I would like the website to say. I liked the silly version.
Yeah, I'm always one with some humor. I like to bring that in because everybody loves a little bit of humor. You connect to it. And if you have opportunity, I mean, we work also for a Shakespeare company. So joy is a thing. Connection and joy is an actual real part of who we are and our identity. So that might be valid for you too. And I think it is actually very much so. Anyone else want to, I mean, look, there's community foundations. What do you think, Allison? So it's talking about community foundation, combining it with. Anyone have a framework they want to talk about and say, oh, wow, this actually, I would never be able to do that. You're very welcome. Definitely at least watch the rest of it. And if you have questions, send us a note. Be safe. So you can also save that protocol. If you write a protocol, right, you get that next prompt in, you've written your protocol, it's in Canvas, you can share it, you can print it, right, create that document and save it. Now you actually have something you can use over and over that kind of combines everything and helps keep that consistency within your tone, keep that authenticity with your style and your identity.
I'm a little bit behind the discussion here.
That's okay.
I'm going to catch up.
Anyone want any feedback, any thoughts, any insights about this, and or how you can use this, how you envision using this?
I think it's really interesting and helpful to even just to me to think about, confident yet approachable, and things words that I use a lot, like intervention or even the word tutoring. They recognize that, it downplays the expert-led nature of your instruction. Intervention sounds clinical. It's just very, yeah, I think it's really helpful. I haven't really gone through it all the way, but there's a lot here. But yeah, I think that I didn't know it could do that. So thanks. It's very cool.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it gives you a language, right? It helps, but the language is grounded in who you are and who you want to be and how you want to connect with your constituency. Any other thoughts, or you want to do a practice prompt? Can anyone grab a newsletter or a social media post or something? Want to grab it and ask? You've got this framework now, right? And now you can ask, you can put in a recent newsletter article and say, does this align with our brand voice, tone, and style framework? Because you now have a framework, right? You might need some more refining of that. I totally recognize that. But ask, did it actually work? So how else can you use this bit of quality assurance? Not only is it making sure you maintain your authentic voice, that you don't let the AI become your voice, because then it becomes very inhuman, right? It loses the humanity when you let it write for you versus keeping it grounded in who you are, keeps it grounded in that authenticity. So there's another way you can also use it. Say you hire someone new to work in the development office, and they are a new content writer who is writing grants for you. And you're working on a development plan and a work plan for them, and you want to assess over time, what's their skill acquisition looking like? How are they improving over time? What's happening with their delivery, right? You can actually ask the AI, you can put in your brand framework, your guideline, and your voice and identity framework, put in the work they did, and ask it, hey, rate the percentage to which this grant aligns with the policy around our brand voice and tone and identity. It will give you percentages that you can start to document and measure over time, and use it also as a supervisory tool to help manage your team, to say, hey, you did really great on this. Here's where you scored. And it will give you feedback too. Here's where it didn't align and why. And the why is essential so that that staff member can go, oh, I get it. Cool. Let me give it another shot. And then the next time they bring you something, you look at their score compared to the first one. Oh, hey, that's great. You can also use it when you're doing A/B marketing campaigns, right? First you ask it, did it align? Right? Then you start to look at your results of your A/B and compare it to the percent of alignment. So if someone like your board is fighting you on, but these are the words we use, it has to be this, you can actually then leverage your analytics through AI to push back and say, but hey, here's the A/B. Here are your words. Here's the word bank recommended words that align with our tone. Here are the results of how those things did. We're achieving this with this version and this with this version. Hopefully your board says, oh yeah, we want to achieve the better percentage, right? We want to achieve the more authentic. We want those results. But it then doesn't become a my opinion versus your opinion, and I'm a writer, so I know these things, and if you used AI, there's no value in it whatsoever. Can you tell I've been there, right? You then get to not have that conversation and say, here are the analytics. We did an A/B test. We used this language for this language for this, and here are the results. That gives your board and decision makers who might be a little bit in the weeds with you, pushing back on what you're using for your language. But then it's no longer us versus them, right? It becomes oh, here are the results. Let's continue more. How do we keep achieving this level? And what are the trends based on what we're using? Does that make sense how you can kind of then operationalize this? It's not just cool, there's a great guideline I can use to stay authentic. Now I can actually use it to measure what we're doing and then use the AI for that measurement. Questions, thoughts? Everyone get how to make that measurement happen? Need a review on that? Is it clear how to do that? Looks like it. Cool. Cool. So I'm actually going to hand it over to Erin. Any other thoughts about authenticity, on maintaining brand voice and tone? This is a 3-day workshop that we just did in an hour. How do you feel? How do you feel? Like 50 minutes. Everyone feel good about that? Woo! You walk away with an output and a framework and some ways to measure and use it to help with your decision making and your discernment process. Awesome. All right, Erin's going to talk a bit about Zoom AI companion. So we're moving a little away from GPT for a bit, and we're going to go in and talk about what is the Zoom AI companion. I actually love the stuff that Zoom is doing. If you get a chance ever to go into their launch presentations where they present what they're building, what's going to come in the next version and the next launch, it's awesome. Like you'll walk out of it going, oh my God, that's so cool, right? So Erin's going to take over and talk a little bit about Zoom. I'm going to go quiet.
All right. That was a lot. It is. I mean, I do the workshop and I'm feeling winded. Right. So the Zoom workspace product has expanded to be a competitor to Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams, that ecosystem of documents and whiteboards and certainly the video chatting service, which was the core of what Zoom was. And there are AI assistants that have specific features for each of those applications. And Allison has been so cordial to have turned on the AI assistant for this meeting, which it's been like keeping track of everything. And you can ask very targeted questions about what happened here, about what the session held. So if you don't see it, it's down at the bottom. My interface has changed because I stopped sharing. But if your interface is narrow, there's a more button, and then AI has adopted, designers of AI have adopted the idea that AI deserves the little star shape as the icon for it. So AI Companion has one of those, and it takes over the chat. And here is your own little version of ChatGPT. I think it uses Mistral, which is like a 7 billion parameter model. So anyway, its extent is the content of this workshop. You can't ask it, you know, using my brand voice, tell me the what the outcomes of this workshop were. It's gonna say, what? What are you talking about?
Erin, would it tell us if you asked it to list all, give all the prompts? Would it?
I think that it will. I don't want to say, oh, you know, you can just say, give me all the prompts and it will. And then like somebody put it in and be like, no. I could try. Yeah. What are all the prompts used in today's job? Yeah, it will. Does a pretty good job of analyzing the transcript. So you can kind of think it takes a lot longer than the other models because it's going through a whole lot of information. We've been talking for an hour, and it takes a while to scan through everything. Mine's come back. It looks pretty close. Organizational style. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Has everybody clicked into AI Companion to see what's there? It's pretty close to the prompts, huh?
It included some that weren't specific to what I had typed in, but that's because it's not watching the screen. It's paying attention to the text that is being spoken. It acts just on the transcript. We were having the conversation, Allison and I were having a conversation earlier in the week about some of the ethical and maybe more scary, I don't know, ways that you might imagine the bad people using this information against us. So there's some of that that is healthy skepticism, but you need to have a conversation with your team, your board, with where your AI policy stands on what information an AI is going to help you process. This is all sending data out to a third party. It's quote unquote secure, but there's data leaks all the time. I like to use the analogy that only the cartels get investigated and arrested. So I don't think anybody here is a large enough fry to really pique the warning bells of any AI overlord. So I think that everyone's safe for at least the next, I don't know, 12 months of using AI to your advantage.
Has anyone clicked on some of the auto prompts they give? Like, are there any action items? Give it a click. What did it tell you?
I clicked on, was my name mentioned?
Uh-huh.
And it was.
Isn't that great? Like you show up late for a meeting and say,
Yeah.
he was talking about me. When do I need to go? What do I need to know what they were saying, right? I mean, this goes back to how funny. Allison, it mentioned telling you to go to players camp.
That was from the
And that was before we even started recording.
Yeah, we didn't record that part.
That's hysterical. Yeah. So it actually captured what wasn't recorded, which is really important to know. Because did my name come up before you hit record? If you had a conversation and you're using AI, you want to make sure you're aware of what you
I really hope Joanne Scully doesn't show up on this.
Is she going to be late again? I mean, someone's going to get to read all of that. So know that. That's actually, I hadn't realized that it would take things before the recording started and include it. I've never tested that before. So that was a really cool thing to look at and realize, oh, hey, wait a minute. Which is cool. And
that is the kind of stuff that you need to have a discussion with your board about.
Yeah.
It's kind of common practice in a lot of organizations to have small talk conversations before the meeting actually starts, and to know that it's gonna be able to tell you what you said about so and so before they got to into the meeting is
yeah. I mean, if you're recording right, on Zoom, and you have participants who've zoomed in who are on your executive committee, and you go into executive session, what's your policy around that? So maybe the policy is you can't just randomly share, right? You can't just randomly access the meeting. You keep it protected so that only certain people can go in, and maybe it's whoever on the board is in charge of going in and making sure that the executive committee stuff is not accessible, right? So maybe you just print it out and share the stuff. While you're in the meeting, you show up late, you can say, hey, what did I miss? Give me a quick summary. So like Catch Me Up gives you a quick summary. I don't know, are there any other prompts you want to put in or want to have everybody test out to see?
I think that is a question for ChatGPT. What are some good prompts?
So if you put in, for instance, while he's looking that up, if you put in, what was the tone of today's session? Right? Sometimes you walk out of a board meeting and you look at your colleague and you go, how did that go? I don't really know. I couldn't, I don't know. I was focused, right? This was friendly, informal, and collaborative. Professional yet conversational. Participants were sharing and engaging. Educational content and brand voice was delivered in an accessible way. Bye, Jennifer. We'll see you. Yes, the recording will be posted, right, Allison? Cool. Supportive atmosphere. Participants encourage. Oh, I feel good about us. Erin, I feel good about us right now. It just graded us. So another one you can put in, I know he'll have some that he just looked up, but put what participant was most engaged. Right? Say you're at a board meeting. You can also do the reverse. We won't do it today, but you can actually ask it who wasn't engaged. And that way you actually can start to say, you know what, this board member is not actively engaged. We're going to lose them. And you get an opportunity to start to say, why aren't they engaged? Why aren't they participating? Why aren't they collaborating? What's keeping them? Because if they're not engaged, are they going to advocate for your organization? Are they happy? Do they want to continue being that advocate? Are they not happy with what's happening at the organization, right? So what's happening with that person who isn't engaged, right? So what participant, probably going to be my big monster voice.
Here's a good one for us, Neurospicy. Was there any subtext or indirect communication I should be aware of?
Yeah. Joanne, you are one of the most engaged participants.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine said
Catherine, you as
it wasn't-
well. Let's see who
It
else.
wasn't able to identify
Oh, really?
who was the most engaged participant. Yeah.
Mine said that too.
Oh, really? Mine gave me you provided thoughtful responses and asked meaningful questions throughout the session. Thank you.
Sometimes it wants you to be even more specific than engaged.
Yeah. Who spoke the most?
Yeah, the instruction of very specific, who responded to our questions the quickest, or the, who took the longest to answer, what those types of metrics by which you want to say what most engaged means to you, and it'll do a better job of picking out specifically what that answer is.
So
Yeah.
I put in the subtext question, and it says there was an underlying tension around board acceptance of modern communication styles, with multiple participants expressing concerns about board members preferring formal language over more engaging contemporary approaches. It's incredible.
Yeah. Erin, what did it tell you about other subtext too? Did it tell you anything different?
I didn't type it.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I used what are the main themes of this conversation? That's a common one. Let's see. What do I say another good one is?
My favorite one that I've used, I'll find themselves saying please and thank you. I do. I have like whole little conversations where we have a relationship. We definitely do. Did anybody ask, like, one of the things I've used it for that I love is I'll ask it, please summarize all the decisions made. Please summarize all the action items and who's responsible for it. Those two prompts have been amazing. I use it for staff meetings, right? So what did we decide? And also I use it to go back, right? So, we're in the arts, we're all flighty, right? We flip flop like, oh, hey, the creative brain sometimes loses the ideas moving here, and they've forgotten we've had this decision back here. So there's an ability for me to go, but remember at this meeting, we made this decision. All right. So when you're doing minutes, when you're following up, and then if you ask it about the action items and it tells you who's responsible, you have to double check it, because it does not always get it 100% right as far as like who's it assigned to. So when you're doing your minutes, you go back and go, but wait, I have this, right? It allows you to kind of qualify those minutes as well. But it is a great way to kind of check and balance and summarize quickly. What was I supposed to do? Was my name mentioned? That will also pull up what action items as well. It's another prompt that will do that.
How should I follow up based on what was said today?
Ooh. What does it say?
It's thinking. One of the other ones that I put in earlier, how did people react to my specific points? Were they supportive, skeptical, or indifferent? It said indifferent. I didn't talk nearly as much as Alice-Ann, but I think that those who had a larger speaking role in this meeting would have answers that are beneficial. All right, let's see. Based on what was discussed today, here are some suggested follow-up actions. Review and refine your organization's word bank and words to avoid lists that you created during the session. Create or update your brand voice and style guide using the framework generated by ChatGPT. Test the new brand voice guidelines on recent content like newsletters or social media posts to see how well they align. Consider using AI tools to measure content alignment with your brand voice over time. especially for new team members. Discuss with your board or leadership. It goes on, right? Explore using AI to help with grant writing and aligning your language with funders' priorities while maintaining your authentic voice.
If you're a real-time strategic planning, if you're a La Piana, acolyte, and you use real-time strategic planning, you can actually take your real-time objectives, right? There's an attach button in the companion. You can attach your strategic goals and objectives and ask it, are the decisions made today in alignment with our strategic plan goals? Are we missing something? Have we forgotten something? Does our decision making align with what we say we want to do? I've asked, what assumptions were missed in this meeting? And it gives you some real, when things go wrong, it's because we assumed wrong, right? There's not usually a flaw in what our program theory is. We are smart people in this industry, right? There's not usually a flaw in the design of what we're doing. What happens is we haven't captured all of the assumptions accurately, right? There may be something that seems so minuscule. I mean, I use all the time the anecdote about a program where everybody showed up, everybody wanted this program. Year 2, we launch it, and nobody came to the first session. What? We go back. Everybody wants it. Everybody loves this program. They talk about the impact, how it was life-changing. Second session, nobody shows up. We're like, what the heck? The complete misalignment between your actions and being here and your desire and articulation of the impact. They weren't the decision makers on whether or not they could attend. They couldn't get approval for substitute teachers. They weren't willing to give up their weekend or evenings. They're not the decision makers. So the program wasn't moving forward successfully because there was a gatekeeper preventing it that we didn't even consider. Had nothing to do with the program. It was an awesome program. So asking about what assumptions did I miss, right, is a great question for your AI companion. So you can use it very, very strategically and really use it to move your strategic plan into a real-time plan. So you're not looking backwards. I actually was going to propose this as next session's one of the topics of how do you use AI in your real-time to really advance real-time strategic planning so that you are in the moment using more discernment so that you can have a little bit more predictability and a little bit more forecasting of what might happen and be prepared in a different way. So anyone else see how you might make use of, I mean, it's a crazy little thing. It's just like a little chat during your meeting. But what do you need now that you've learned a little bit about it? What do you need to activate something like this at your organization, use of? What would help you as a resource? What would help you get buy-in to use the AI companion?
I think that like the majority of people aren't using AI that I know. And I think that there's a lot of skepticism and fear around it. And so I think that would be the initial thing, is like how to alleviate people's concerns about like what is the information going to be used for, and particularly when it's recording their own words,
Right. That's where policy comes in. So maybe there's a need for a policy template, it sounds like. Something that would help create a policy that can be customized.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I primarily use it to organize the word salad in my head, which is to say what would normally take a week long in a grant of taking these 50 points that I want to put cohesively. I keep throwing it at the AI. Now, it doesn't come back right the first time. Probably doesn't come back right the second time, but in one day, I can do 2 weeks worth of work.
Right.
And then put me back into it. So once it's organized, I can and then that's when I yell at all caps. Like, that's not what I told you to do.
I actually have said, well, this is crap. a couple of times to my AI. That's crap. You're just checking off boxes. That doesn't have any.
Oh, I literally, all caps, you're not listening to me. I said to summarize.
And that might be too, like Aaron mentioned at the beginning, if you go too long, are you using the free or the upgraded paid for?
I actually use a paid for Perplexity
because
it's more secure. And my
Right.
bosses were so,
Yeah.
it was so hard to get them away from the man with the gun in the closet.
Yeah.
Was coming to get all our very valuable data.
Mm-hmm. It's that is scary to people. If you don't have a great risk policy or a risk committee on your board that's assessing risk and really thinking about what is that policy I need for my digital security? Like, what do I have that in place? It's time to look at your policies with the board, maybe create a task force to kind of create that, but make sure it's to not cut yourself off at the knees and using resources that would help and give you some advantage while simultaneously protecting the data of your organization. So there's some
They
work to
all
be
go
done.
online. They're all followed by the algorithm. Their stuff is already in AI. It's like saying, I've decided I don't want to be tracked, but I use a cell phone. It's
Right.
irrational.
Yeah.
It's it's just,
yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I understand people being afraid, but my quote that I've tried and worked twice out of 4 times is that you won't lose your job to AI, but you will lose your job to somebody who uses AI.
Yeah, actually, Aaron and I had this great conversation this morning, and we were equating talking to our AI in the way that we've had to evolve talking. Like, I equated it to having the way I've had to evolve my language talking to my child as she's been developing. So when it first came out, it was such a different, simple way of exchanging, right? And what information you could give it and what it would give back. And as it evolves and as it develops, it continues to become more and more complex. And you have to continue getting better and thinking differently and more deeply in order to get it to do what it's capable of as it develops and evolves, which is really cool, right?
The more specific you can be, the better. And by that, it's like an endless, you can deep dive on what things particularly mean. Our language is, I don't know, I don't think it's real great at interpreting the emotions and inner workings of our creative minds. And I struggle to find words all the time. And so having something that is constantly getting stronger, every iteration, they say, is 100 times better than the last. And we're on the 5th, maybe 6th iteration of ChatGPT. There's new ones on the horizon. There's a bunch of competitors that are out that are doing really, really good stuff. So there is an equilibrium where everybody's kind of found this this course, this I don't know, whatever, what's it called, a jet stream. And I forgot where I was going with that. And
I love your brain.
yeah, no, the more specific, if from a coding context, I have a coding background. I still do it for hobby. A lot of there's stuff that comes up in our needs all the time. Web app here, web app there, AI assistant here, automation there. And if you can be super duper precise about what it is that you want it to do and how, it'll give you what you want.
Which is pretty cool.
There's some of the AI models are a little bit more lucky in the way that they were trained, that might just be more comfortable with how you talk. I've got family who loves Grok. They swear by it the same way I swear by ChatGPT. I use, and it's just like, that's not me. It doesn't feel like that's how I want content communicated to me. So finding one that matches your personality, or at least your framework for understanding the world around you, is part of learning how to use AI.
So we've got like 20 minutes, and there's a couple of new or improved GPT features we wanted to talk about, and maybe talk a little bit more about Canvas and its limitations and its capabilities. I actually would love, so multimodal capabilities. What does that mean? Images, audio, right? You can use ChatGPT for these items. And it can interpret images and PDFs in a better way than it used to be able to. I've actually used my brand and style guide against images or a social media post that I've written, and I have an images that's designed, and I've uploaded it all into GPT and said, is this post and the image in alignment with our purpose and our mission, vision, values? And it will give me feedback. I'll say, no, that doesn't really work. Or sometimes I'll even ask it, hey, what kind of an image do I need to go with this content? What would actually visually articulate this image? Or then qualify the image again. Aaron, do you want to say anything more about the multimodal capabilities and ways to use it?
Right. So you can think of the different modalities as the different senses that maybe a human has, the sense of sight, the sense of smell. Obviously, your computer's not going to smell, but being able to interpret deeper understanding of what images are or what's happening inside of a sound are beneficial. If you're only using words, you aren't at the same depth of understanding of what the inner mechanics are. It'll interpret it. So let's say you have a social media post that performed really well. You don't know why. You can screenshot it and dump it into a ChatGPT session and talk to it about any of the core aspects that, what is it about the photographic style? What is it about the color? What is it about the imagery, the subject matter? What do we believe is the cause of the improvement in performance? And it'll do it. It'll pull it out. 9 times out of 10, it's like really, really on the money. So it's getting better and better at multimodal. It can do that with audio files also. If you have a recording of yourself that's in an audio format, an MP3 or a WAV or MPEG 2, you can upload those and it can listen to it in a way that, it's hard to explain like how it works because it's all vector databases and but the gist is the information exists in this large cloud, and where it chooses to condense into rain is dependent on the environment that you give it. You say, here's some words, here's a pattern, and it just takes that pattern and it looks into the cloud of information, and where those patterns emerge, it grabs those pieces of information to return back to you. So as it evolves, it gets better at condensing the information into the cloud to give you, this is like different than the like internet's up in the ethos of, that cloud. But if you have information in this giant vector database, lots of, anyway, so as we're getting better models available to us, we're also needing to feed it better and better, more specific data. I think I said that already.
Yeah. So that's multimodal. So you can use it. I've sometimes put music that's going with a video I'm making and saying, does this music align with this content? And I won't put the video. I would say, I don't think you can do video yet. I don't know how well it's doing video. It still hasn't. Audio, it's doing. Images, it's doing okay. It's not quite got video down yet, but I can do stills and the written content and say, hey, does this music align with what I'm going for here. And it will give me feedback. And I'll say, well, what should I be using? What kind of music might help here? It'll tell me the instrumentation. It'll tell me, recommended sources to get music. And I'll say, I can't spend any money. It needs to be in the public domain. And it'll give me some more sources. So it's really awesome in that sense. Another thing, or like you can assess your campaigns. Also, it's another way you can do that rating thing with it. So you can take a design, you have a new designer. I have a couple of interns who are doing design work for me. And I can take their designs and put them in and say, hey, does this align? Rate rate where this aligns with what our campaign goals are and our voice and our mission, vision, values. And it'll give me feedback. And then I can put it in again and ask the exact same prompt to try and save that prompt and ask it, where is this? How is this? Where does it land? And then you can take that and align it next to your analytics with the actual social media or email or whatever it was that you used. So website, whatever, wherever it was placed, you can use those analytics and kind of align those together to look at, are we doing well? Is this going to work? Is this working? How do I help this person improve? All of that fun stuff. There's also been improvement in the multilingual translation and accessibility in GPT. So you can actually translate languages instantly. You can generate voice responses in it. So you can play around a little bit there. Maybe you need to have a text to speech for visually impaired individuals. GPT can help you with that, as can just translating, really helping you connect with multilingual constituents as well. That's improved a lot. So say you have an appeal, you need it translated into Mandarin, go ask GPT, right?
Yeah. So I want to touch on that just a little bit.
Mhm.
In my research and what I can find other people's research, it would indicate that if you need a more human language between English and another language, using a tool like Google Translate will give you a more formal response. But if you want it to be spoken words in different styles, then you can use ChatGPT and it'll do a pretty good job of changing it from the very precise way that other languages function into one that is a little bit more I don't know,
Conversational.
Yeah, socially acceptable, so you don't sound like a robot. And then it also does a very good job of going from different languages into English. That's one of its specialties. So that's one use.
So we've got like 10 minutes, and I don't know if we want to look at Canvas or just talk through, and maybe we can send out some best practice. I have a list of sort of workflows for Canvas and best practices, because Canvas has some great features, but also some big limitations. I tend to not use it, actually. I mean, sometimes I'll use it. If I'm really happy with something, I'll ask it to go into Canvas and save it, just so I have it in that version and it's done and I can go back and do whatever I need to do. But I don't tend to use it all the time because I get frustrated with it, because there are other tools that I like better. But it is a tool and it's worth exploring it a little bit. Things to know. You can edit in it, but it doesn't save iterations. It's not like I use Living Writer, right? Living Writer, my writing tool, saves every iteration. So I can say, go back to noon on Tuesday, and it will give me what version I was at noon on Tuesday. Canvas cannot save iterations. There are workarounds. I've written down instructions on how to do that, because I have been really happy with a document in Canvas, and then there's been one paragraph and I'm like, that just isn't working for me. And I'll give it a prompt, and I wasn't specific enough saying, edit only this paragraph. And it goes in, it doesn't have a thread like chat where you can go back. it gives you, and it completely re-edited the entire thing, and there's no way to revert back.
All right, so
Mm.
they've added this feature. You can highlight. It's down here. If you got here, it's like suggest edits.
Do you
And
need to share your screen?
am I not?
No, I don't see it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try again.
Let's see. How about now?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Lower right, little toolbar. Add final polish, reading level, adjust the length, suggest edits. So if you click suggest edits, you have the ability to select this, and you should be able to type in, I don't know, make it sound like a. I like that it actually does a very good job of knowing what you're talking about, even if you have typos. So don't worry too much about that. Make it sound like it's like I'm a pirate.
But because he highlighted it, it only edited that section. But I don't think you can revert back, right? There's no way to go backwards. There are some workarounds where you can force it to do that. You can give it prompts to make it do that.
It's just between the current one and the one before it.
Yeah, so you can do one iteration, but if you've done like 4 or 5 prompts, you can't get back. So there are some workarounds. This is helping. It's getting better and better. I assume it will continue to evolve and get better. But what I think we'll do is maybe send out, I have one, how to work solo in Canvas, how to collaborate in Canvas, and some things to be aware of. Here are some pitfalls. Here are things it doesn't do. Here are some workarounds. Here's a workflow that's a best practice. And here's a checklist of a best practice of, if you're going to use it, know these things so that you're not like, really mad because it's happened to me and I don't want it to happen to you, because it sucks after you've been writing and writing and writing. And I have a mug. We actually have a gift shop, and one of our mugs, it says hit save, hit save, hit save, hit save on it, but in a way and such that the mug actually looks like, you'll have to excuse my vulgarity, but it actually looks like when you look at it fast that it says shit, because that's what happens when you don't hit save. That's what happens when you don't hit save. You lose it, and then you're like putting expletives out there all over and really upset. And that's what happens if you don't hit save. I learned my own lesson.
We all feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it.
We know it. Yeah. Questions?
That's a really good thing about Perplexity, is Perplexity does keep every iteration. And I just discovered today, because I got frustrated because I wanted a combination of 6 different iterations out of like 50, because I kept saying change this. And I went and said, please combine number 1, number 6, number 5, and all that. And it did. Nice. And I didn't know it could do that before. And they're all in your library. The problem is, when you go to see them, sometimes I forget how many changes I've made, and I just have to keep, because it's, no, change that word. No, I didn't mean that. Yeah.
It's funny because I think about, when I early in my career, I was at an organization under the Yale umbrella. And I remember a grant we were working on that had 17 different researchers, 17 different doctors contributing. And they each wrote massive amounts, and it was an 11-page max narrative. And I had all of these from different native languages. So I had to first figure out how to interpret what they were actually trying to say in English. Then I had to assimilate all like 17 different drafts and say, where's their overlap? What's complementary? What's actually helpful and not helpful? How are we making this compelling? How are we leveraging this authority? Is everybody represented? Is everybody included? Now I could take that and go, okay, first put all of these in a standard English that I can figure out what the heck they're trying to say to me. Here's their national origin. Help me translate this so it makes a little more sense. Then I could put them all in. Hey, where are these redundant? Where are these complementary? And actually be able to do that compiling of things and save myself 3 full 24-hour work sessions to get that work done, just to synthesize it down to the core message and then refine it into a writing that is compelling and in alignment and really tells the story. So the ability to just create efficiencies and create some ease in our work, it's so great with tools, you know, that allow us to do this. So they're not perfect. They will never replace you, but they can make life a lot easier. Other questions or thoughts? We have like 3 minutes left. Allison, anything you want to throw out there?
This has been incredible. I learn so much every time that we get together. And I shared with Erin that I had to create a report of data that we've been collecting about the consultant support program since 2020. And I use ChatGPT to summarize the data and tell the story of the different projects that we've supported over all these years, common themes, consultants we use the most. It was really incredible and something that would have taken me a long time to do. It took me about a half an hour to just kind of refine it. And yeah, I was blown away. So think about it. That's something else we can talk about too, is just sort of data analysis and thinking about that too for the future. We'll be together again. June 17th will be our next AI playground. So I know Alice Ann said she has some ideas, thinking about some things that we could talk about, but if any of you have requests, send them my way and we'll make sure that we're meeting your needs.
Yeah. We try and make them very specific and very hands-on, so you're actually practicing and walk away with, like, now you've got a framework, right? If you used it while we were in the session, you actually have a little bit of a voice framework you can start to use and refine it and keep that going. But yeah, Catherine, what were you thinking?
No, I was just going to thank you and echo what Allison was saying. Was very, very helpful. And I do definitely have some concrete things to move forward with. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
I have a question. So I've solely been using ChatGPT, but I have found that there are days that I've run out of the free, like I like just this workshop, like I
used it all
said
up.
no more. Like I found what's the next best thing to then, like, if I needed to move over to something else, like because I'm looking at lists and I go to the sites and I'm like there's too much now.
Claude is my backup.
Which one?
Claude. It's by a company
Claude.
called Anthropic.
Okay.
Perplexity is also good. I'll give a shout out because, you know.
I know lots of people also who use Grok, but I hate it. It does not serve me at all, but it is an option.
I ended up doing the paid version of ChatGPT, and it's been so worth it. Like you can upload things into it and say, you know, teach that, like if it's something I don't understand, it can teach it to me. And I was kind of on the fence. And now I can't imagine that I wouldn't have access to all those prompts now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to convince more people first and then get I'm not that decision maker anymore.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, thank God we have Erin, because, you know, so what we do is we build custom bots. So we have, he talked about his philosophy bot, right? It's a philomath. So there's a philosophy bot. We have an Elm Shakespeare bot. We have an inclusive language that takes not just equity language, but also a scan for the neurodivergent brain and saying, is this content in alignment with best practices for this audience? Can everybody access it in the best possible way? And I learned from it. I learned so much from that bot. And so training bots in the organization or in a specific thing is so incredibly helpful. So, you know, it's a way to really maximize the use of the different products and make them work for your organization. Because you can do them both internally and create bots that engage external as well.
Do those bots live in your ChatGPT, or do they live? I mean, where do they live?
So they can live in multiple places. There's different levels of publicity. You can make it just for you. You can make it for your organization if you're on a team account, or you can make it publicly searchable where it's on OpenAI's list of available GPTs. Yeah.
Do you use any from the list? I've stopped using ones from the list because I'm so focused on what we're using. But
I like mine. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
mine. I'm a little partial. But yeah, let me see.
cool. Anyone gonna use AI Companion? Thoughts on AI Companion while he's looking to see if there's anything. I love it. And there's some other really cool stuff they're coming out with soon too. I know it was due to launch closer to the end of this year. So yeah, that's Aaron's. Is yours on OpenAI AI?
So that's the Philomath. It's Philomath. It's fun to bring up in parties. This is like you take your biggest existential crisis, the thing that you are just struggling the most with, and you just can't figure out all the ways that it could happen. You take that and you plug it in there, and it'll break it apart into a mathematic formula that has variables that are in relation to one another, the same way that it's philosophically relevant, and then compute the result, compute the formula based on the variables, and then give you an answer of how you solve your existential crisis based on the formula that it generates. So it's fun. It's a little
In our
nerdy.
current environment, it might be very helpful
I was just gonna say, we all need this in our lives.
right now. Absolutely. Oh, so go play. It'll be fun. Cool.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Alice Ann. It's been another great session. Glad you all were with us. We'll share the recording, and Alice Ann will share some tools and other resources. So I'll send those out via email very soon.
Great.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Good to see your faces. Bye.